Welcome to the Ambulance World podcast, where we are making global EMS connections. Ambulance World is the only website dedicated solely to the practice of emergency medical services across the globe. Now here is today's broadcast from the Ambulance World International Headquarters in scenic Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Hello everybody, this is Evan at ambulanceworld.com and welcome to the Mecca. This is the Mecca of our operations. This is our control center here in scenic Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And I'm not using the term Mecca or word Mecca by accident. I'm kind of doing that as a segue to our podcast today. We had the honor and privilege of speaking with Malcolm DeFleice. He's been a paramedic from Ohio. He's been 3 years in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, working as a paramedic there, and he's sharing his experiences, his insight to working overseas, how to get jobs over there, what the work environment's like, what the money's like, a lot of very interesting things, and it's kind of a lot of cultural insight to how things work over there. So it was kind of an exciting interview. So I hope you enjoy it. All right, hello everybody. We got Malcolm DeFleice here in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where it is, about 350 degrees outside now?
Yeah, pretty close. Actually, it's I think about 115 and it's 8 p.m.
8 p.m. Well, so what's the max temperature during the day there?
During the day around this time of year, we're going to get to about 115.
Okay.
Another month it'll climb to about 125, 130.
No, I spent 15 months in Iraq, and so I'm assuming the weather's kind of similar between both places, and I'm glad to be home. Okay, so I'll tell you, I did a little introduction before we started talking here with everybody. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up in Saudi Arabia.
Well, it's the same when you go anywhere. You look at what the best opportunities are, and so as we start to come into where we are, economy-wise, the job market is slowing down. It's hard to find work.
That's true.
And so a lot of us are going overseas. A lot of DoD contractors, private contractors. It's where the money is. It's where the stability is. So Saudi Arabia itself, if you know anything about it, they have no accredited paramedic programs. All their paramedics are trained to EMT levels, and either they're sent out of the country to receive paramedic degrees, or the paramedics are expats. So for a paramedic, there's unlimited job opportunities here. Hospital, fire, and private service.
Okay. So what were you doing before you ended up thinking about Saudi Arabia in the first place?
Actually, I was working for a pretty good company in Cleveland, the largest private service in Cleveland.
Okay.
We did a lot of transport, some 911. It was a good job. It was good money and great security. I wanted to do something different.
Okay.
When I was in the Navy, I traveled a lot. Made it over here in '99. So it's nice. It's a nice change of pace.
Okay, so before you even, so you're working in Cleveland as a medic, kind of like a lot of our listeners here have a regular job, and then did you have like a little itchy travel bug? You get itchy sitting in one place too long, or?
A little bit. I actually I got a random email from a buddy of mine who actually was my paramedic instructor.
Okay.
So he sent me an email about a job in Kuwait, and I said, you look at it, you kind of delete the email, and you think about it, and so I really thought about it. It seemed like a pretty decent idea. The money's good, the experience is good, and if nothing else, you're going to come back with a whole different perspective of how the job's done.
Okay. All right. So what was so this is, if I'm not incorrect, this is your third contract in Saudi Arabia. Is that correct?
It's actually my second.
Okay.
I worked for King Faisal Hospital in Riyadh. It's actually attached to the Royal Clinic, so we had a lot of royal family members.
Okay.
There's about 30,000 members now of the ruling royal family. So we took care of a lot of them. We did a lot of critical care transports. A lot of medevacs came in for Saudi nationals.
Okay, so this was, now you were working in a hospital. Were you doing traditional EMS for the hospital in an ambulance, or was it a little bit of expanded scope of practice type of work?
No. We were hospital-based EMS. Our main priority at that time was to respond to all emergencies inside the hospital and any hospital employees outside of the hospital.
Okay.
We didn't do any routine transports outside of the hospital. So it was routine field work.
Now, was it a initially getting the job, applying for the job, the application process? Was it difficult, cumbersome, or relatively simple?
Well, the way I did it was relatively simple. When I first came over, I actually went through an agency.
Okay.
Out of, I don't know, I think it was out of Texas. But there's quite a few agencies through the U.S. and Canada who will send you overseas.
Okay.
They take your CV and put it together and find the best match. So they did a lot of the paperwork. It's a lot of FedExing and running back and forth to the post office. But it's relatively painless. And the process, unfortunately, takes, anywhere from a month to 6 months, depending on where you're going, your visas, and things like that.
Oh, nope. I think that was me getting that feedback. Okay. So you spent a year. So at the end of that year, and how long were you on that one contract? Was it a year?
I know, that contract was 2 years.
Okay.
And now I've been here in Jeddah for about a year.
Well, let me ask you about that first contract. So you get there. You get off the plane. Where do you live? Where do you go to? How does that work?
Well, it's kind of a funny story because my flight was delayed. And I spent about 26 hours sleeping in JFK Airport in New York.
Okay.
I came over, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, it's a direct flight. I had absolutely no exposure to the Saudi culture before then. So my boss actually picks me up from the airport. He is a Saudi national who took his degree in D.C., I believe.
Okay.
So, he picks me up, he's telling me about the culture. We get a flat tire on the way to the hospital. And so it's hot, it's all get out, and we're changing the tire. And so he tells me, this is illegal, he says this culture is very closed, it's very close-minded, but the guys will get you around, So we get to the hospital, on the compound, males, females, and every nationality you can think of, we're all under one roof. Other than the fact that you're dealing with a lot of jet lag because we're right in the middle. No matter where you come from, it's a long flight. So we stay on the hospital grounds. A lot of people live here in compounds and things like that, but it's not bad.
Now, let me ask you. So you're using the term compound is where you're working. So a lot of people, compound sounds like a fortified military environment. I know that's not the case, but maybe you could explain a little bit what the compounds are like.
Well, some are. Actually, a lot of the compounds, the expat compounds, are, fortified. High concrete walls, razor wire, either Saudi National Guard or police working the gate. That's a lot of them. The others, it's loose. You just have a control arm gate, a couple of security guys. But it's very controlled. A lot of this country, no matter where you go, it's very controlled. It's you have to think of the equivalent of everywhere you go is an embassy or a federal building.
Okay.
So it's a very restricted environment.
Okay. Now, was that was the transition for you to live in that kind of? Well, let me ask you first. The compounds are they're nice though, aren't they? The houses are nice. You have gyms, you have pools, things like that.
Yeah, most of them are nice. And I'll say most of them because when we get to this contract, I'll tell you about my place now. But it was actually pretty nice. We had one housing unit for the guys, small rooms, but we had flat screen TVs, the air conditioned, and things like that. On the compound itself, the hospital was nice. We had a swimming pool, we had a gym, a bowling center, car rentals, movie rentals, electronic stores. It was very comforting. They try to make you feel like you're at home. And some of the larger compounds will have malls and markets and McDonald's, which is everywhere. And it's nice. The big thing that's really nice is everyone here delivers.
Everybody here, they do what? I'm sorry?
Deliver. Your food deliveries.
Okay.
Pizza Hut, McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, Quiznos. Everybody delivers. You really never have to go out.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess it's good and bad. It's good that it makes it convenient, but sometimes it's nice to explore a little bit.
Right.
Okay, so now you work. So you worked for that for 2 years, and now you're in another contract. Can you tell us about that?
Right. The contract I have now is it's bittersweet. It's a lot less money actually. It's a lot less money. However, it was a better opportunity for me. The contract now is not quite a startup. It's been around for about 2 years. It's an integrated fire and EMS.
Okay.
We are the service providers for King Abdullah University of Science and Technology.
Okay.
It's a graduate college, the first one of its kind, built from start to finish in 1,000 days.
Wow.
It's referred to as the King's University. So it's fantastic. For me here, I came in, again, just a field medic. I was the first paramedic to arrive here amongst 8 EMTs, all Filipino. Our supervisor is a South African paramedic.
Okay.
And at the time, we have one other American paramedic. We're still 2 paramedics short. But what we do here is we do a lot of the developing of the program. For example, I got here, we had not really any ALS equipment. We had 2 Life Pack 12s and a Life Pack 15,
okay.
Only 2 of which are 12-week capable. We had no intubation equipment, no drugs, no IVs, no protocols. And actually, so here, we're here actually to develop the program. So we take actually, experienced medics here. So, in the last year I've been here, because my contract's almost up, we've written protocol. We have at least now intubation equipment and IV equipment.
Okay.
We're still working on our drugs and our medical director.
So it's moving along. It sounds like it's starting to kind of coalesce a little bit.
It is. It's starting to take shape.
Oh, that's awesome. And so, how's the living conditions there similar to your previous contract?
I know it's a lot different, mostly because here in this university, 90% of the services are subcontracted.
Okay.
So, we live off campus. It's the job of the service provider, not the university, to provide our accommodation, our healthcare benefits, and things like that. So my company now is the largest manufacturer, or the largest service provider of fire protection services. We do fire extinguishers, install fire protection systems. And we have now fire services for 28 domestic airports.
Wow, that's a big company.
Yes, it is the largest company in Saudi Arabia of this kind. So, our conditions are a little bit different. We don't have the luxuries. We live on a small private compound. So we don't have any of the restaurants, the recreation, and we're 45 minutes actually outside of Jeddah.
So you commute back and forth 45 minutes from your work site to your residential site.
Yes.
So what kind of shifts are you working there?
Well, due to our paramedic shortage, we're working 24 on and 24 off.
Okay.
And we've been this way about 4 or 5 months already. But generally, we work 12-hour shifts. We're 2 day shifts, 2 night shifts, and then 4 days off.
Okay. Now, when you work the 4 on 4 off rotation, 4 off is a lot of days if you don't have what to do.
Well, Jeddah itself is the number one or number two place in the world to dive. And a lot of our guys are doing, shallow and deep sea diving. The culture itself, it's not an open society. We don't have movie theaters, public sports and things like that. But, if you love shopping, every place has a mall, huge malls. You can shop till you drop. You get out to the beach. You can really enjoy the sights. Unfortunately for us, westernized, a lot of things we're used to we can't do. There's no nightlife here. Alcohol is illegal. Commingling with women you're not related to is illegal. So again, if you have, some small parties on compounds, you kind of get around it. But in that respect, it's a little difficult.
Well, let me ask you a question. You're a young guy. Are you married or?
Yes, actually married now for a year and a half.
Oh, congratulations. So, how often do you get off in area that you're able to see your family?
Yeah, we don't really get out.
Well, do you get vacation time where you could either go home or meet elsewhere?
Actually, here I don't. We have different levels of contracts. For example, our South Africans sign 5-year contracts.
Wow, that's a long contract.
It is. So every year they receive annual leave. Our Filipinos, they have 2-year contracts, so every 2 years they have leave. Now the Americans, we only have 1-year contracts,
okay.
So we technically don't get leave. What I did though is I fortunately had a 4-day weekend, and I just took a short flight out, and I saw my wife in December.
Where did you go, like Dubai or something like that?
No, my wife lives in Spain. I flew with kids. So.
Oh, very nice. So I guess is it like a naval? You met her when you were in the Navy?
No, actually, I met her in high school. She was an exchange student.
Wow, I'm sure that sounds like a pretty good story.
Yeah, 18 years I think we've known each other.
Oh, okay. So now, from a lot of the overseas contracts that I'm familiar with, they usually build in a 1 month off every year, or every 6 months you get 2 weeks, or something like that. So you don't have any of that.
No. Only at the end of our contract we'll get. I think it's something ridiculous like 3 weeks.
So they basically let you go early, and you get 3 weeks of paid time while you're on vacation, something like that.
Right.
Oh, okay. Now, on a 5-year, you said that the South Africans are signing 5-year contracts.
5-year contract.
So how long on a 5-year contract? How long do they give you off annually?
Those guys are gone 30 days every year, so they receive annual leave every year for about 30 days.
Okay. Is that company paid leave time where they pay for flights and so forth?
They can go take it out. They're paid salary the entire time they're gone.
Okay. Oh, so it's kind of cool. So now you mentioned about Saudi Arabia being very different type of culture than, say, the United States where you come from. Did you find the transition a little bit hard, difficult, easy enough?
It is. Well, it's a little difficult when we have so much of the freedom we have. You don't take it for granted, or you really do. I'm sorry, you take it for granted, and you come here and you see things like most of the women, especially the Saudi nationals, their faces are covered.
Okay.
So it's kind of strange to see that. It's very strange to see them not having. It's a little difficult to see some of the attire that the guys wear, and you can't really even speak to women. A lot of times you can't say excuse me or I'm sorry, and things like that. It's seen as it's illegal, but it's seen as rude.
Okay.
So those kind of transitions are a little difficult. The nightlife, the partying, the drinking, things like that. You get used to not doing, but you find other hobbies to ease your mind.
Okay. Now, in hindsight, now you said your contract's coming to an end soon. You're going to be coming home. Now, are you going back to Spain, or are you going back to Ohio?
I'm actually going to go back to the U.S. I haven't decided where I'm going to go. Actually, it's kind of nice to have the freedom to go where I like. And based on my last few years away, I think that I won't have any problem finding a job.
Well, if you want to come to the New Jersey, Philadelphia area, I'd be happy to introduce you around.
Thanks.
But okay, so now that you're leaving, you have the benefit of hindsight of 3 years of time that you spent in Saudi Arabia. All in all, you find that it was a positive experience. You're glad you did it?
Absolutely. You think about it, the job is the job. No matter where we go, everything's the same. Air goes in and out and blood goes round and round. It doesn't really change. But the types of people you take care of, it really does. And it opens your eyes really culturally. For example, here, like I said, there's a lot of times that we can't touch our female patients. The male relative, say, no, don't touch them, don't do this. And you're sitting there saying, okay, but she's blue, she needs oxygen. No, don't touch her, just take us to the hospital. You also see treatment. You'll see treatment between a lot of the immigrants, depending on where they come from. If they're Sri Lankan or Pakistani, they won't receive as great treatment as, say, a Saudi national or royal family member or someone with status. And for us, we're not used to seeing that. For us, the patient is the patient.
Right.
So in that regards, it opens your eyes to say, hey, things were done differently in the world, but I've come here and I've learned how to treat people a little different. So all in all, it's a positive experience.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm just kind of curious for my own edification. You have a female patient who has, say, a medical condition that requires immediate treatment, say an arrhythmia that you would need to give medication like amiodarone or adenosine to, or even Cardiovert. Those are procedures that require you to be hands-on. And how do you handle that?
Guarantee it's not going to happen. 12 leads on females, forget it. Forget it.
Now, are there female ambulance attendants that are?
Here for us, no. In my last contract, we did. We're actually now we have convinced our director here to start letting us hire female paramedics.
Okay.
So it's still kind of 50-50 on depends on where you work. However, anyway, the bottom line is for us, even when we do regular limb lead ECGs, we're gonna have to do it on exposed skin. Hands, ankles, possibly. So we actually do use our limb leads as limb leads.
Okay.
IVs are going to be hands, a forearm if you're lucky. We're very rarely going to do ACs on females. We will almost never do 12 leads. Anything that requires us to expose their face is difficult.
How about like airway management, intubation, or bag valve?
Intubation, almost impossible. Almost impossible. As a matter of fact, I've had cases when it comes to things like administering oxygen. I've had to give the mask to the male family member and say, hey, can you put this on, your sister, your mother, your wife? I've had the stethoscope in my ears, and I've actually given them the bell and said, please place it here, place it here, place it here. Because these are very intimate, diagnostics that we have to do.
That's kind of crazy. No, well, not crazy, not in the sense it's insane. It's from our perspective, from a Western perspective, it seems like it makes doing the job very difficult. And in the Western perspective, the sanctity of life really has that higher level, not the maintenance of modesty.
Arguments with my supervisor. When it comes to things like abdominal assessments, I had almost appendicitis. And he said, no, you have a short transport, don't do it. A motor vehicle accident, a woman fell off her scooter, and I almost missed a laceration in our abdomen because we're not exposing our patients.
Wow. Now, maybe just the way my brain thinks, in the United States, missing an injury like that would open yourself up to litigation and liability.
Right.
What now in Saudi Arabia? Is there any? Is it a litigious society, lawsuits and liability that way?
There are a lot of lawsuits, and there are a lot of things, but the problem is it's not the same. We have very strict laws that it doesn't matter who you are. You're subject to the law. Here it's very subjective. As to who you are and how they will find you guilty or not guilty. I would say. If you missed an injury, they're going to say, okay, well, why did you miss this injury? Because this is a female and you can't touch her. No, but you must do this, you must do that. People who have no experience in EMS will tell you what you should and shouldn't have done.
Well, makes doing your job difficult. Makes the decision tree much more complicated.
Yes, quite a bit.
Well, let me ask you. You mentioned about bringing on female paramedics. Are there opportunities in Saudi Arabia for Western female paramedics?
Actually, there are, and like I said, it really depends on who you work for. If you work for any number of the hospitals, you can actually. There are fewer restrictions. When you work for, companies like Red Crescent, which happens to be the largest, or actually it is the Saudi National Ambulance Service. Okay. I actually have not seen one female paramedic for Red Crescent. And then, like I said, we're a service for the university, so we're not subject to a lot of the laws put together by the Saudi Health Commission. So if we say we don't want female paramedics, there's no one to say, okay, we can't do this.
Oh, that's pretty. That's again, it's kind of from a Western perspective. It's very different.
It's very culture shocking. It is. It takes some getting used to.
So, are there any? If somebody's interested in coming to Saudi Arabia, pursue a career EMS fire service, are there any resources that you would refer them to take a look at?
There are actually quite a few. There are. The first thing I would suggest is really, as funny as it sounds, Google.
Okay.
Google a lot because there's a lot of agencies now that you may or may not find in traditional ways that do allow you to come to the Middle East, and they're popping up more and more every day because we're really expanding in this region. So search for agencies, go that way because an agency, number one, will take care of all your paperwork. It'll make it a lot cheaper and a lot more efficient. The other thing is they may refer you to multiple agencies where if you go directly with one agency, you're waiting, and it's going to take some time. Also, you remember our holiday schedules are different. Our weekends are Thursday, Friday, instead of the traditional Saturday, Sunday. And then during Ramadan, for example, which is the holy month in the Islamic world, that's a 30-day holiday. And during the day is rest time. They fast during the day. Offices are closed. A lot of businesses are closed. Not a lot gets done in that 30 days during traditional daytime hours. However, when sunset happens, this is when the society comes alive. This is when work gets done. Shopping malls are open 3, 4, 5 in the morning. It's actually backwards. Or nights and days are inverted.
Wow. That sounds like interesting. So how is a couple questions. But how's it? The heat is outrageous, and I keep on harping on that because I'm just amazed how hot it is. Did that take a little getting used to?
It does. It takes a little getting used to, and then you see when you're on the coast. If you're we're on the West Coast now. On the West Coast and the East Coast, we're near water, so the humidity, really kicks up the heat. Whereas if you're in the middle of the country, it's very dry. It's almost 100% desert climate. There's no humidity, so it's a little bit more tolerable.
How's the food?
I think I've gained about 25 pounds. Seems like 25 pounds a year, but I take it on and I put it on and I take it off. The food is fantastic. Really, Arabic food is very it's very rich. You know, Saudis live a very sedentary lifestyle. You know, so the foods are very rich. A lot of the foods are imported. We also have markets where we can find a lot of stuff from home. And then you know, there's delicacies that you don't want to touch. You know, they eat a lot of pigeon here, and I've yet to try it. I think I'm gonna stay away from it.
Pigeon? You mean the birds that are on the porch in New York?
They fly around everywhere. Yeah, they eat a lot of pigeon here. The chicken and beef. Obviously, this is a very strict Islamic country, so there's no pork or pork products for that fact. So you know, a lot of the foods that contain pork we don't get to eat here.
I can tell you, on a personal note, I love Middle Eastern food. All the different grilled meats and salads and hummus and the you know breads and stuff. Great stuff.
Right. Yeah. The only problem I have is olives. I don't like olives, and they put olives in almost everything.
Yeah, I guess that's a personal taste. Yeah, I like olives myself. Okay, well, that's awesome. So listen, so I mean, I guess one thing that seems really kind of cool about your job, a little blurb that you mentioned earlier. You said now that you're coming home, you have the ability to take time and look for where you want to go and what you want to do.
Right.
A lot of people in EMS, as you know, you work a million hours and you end up being a slave to your schedule.
Right.
You know, in 3 years, you bought yourself, I'm assuming you bankrolled a few dollars, and you're able to allow yourself a buffer to kind of decide what you want to do and not take a job because you have to take it.
Right. You know, that's the good thing about coming overseas. And, you know, a lot of people do come for the money. And the thing is, and I've talked this, a lot of our guys here, our officers, the Americans anyway, used to be DOD contractors. You know, they've worked in Afghanistan, Iraq, you know, Honduras, Spain. When you're making money hand over fist, it's tax free. You know, you're getting paid in local currency, so you know you're not paying the taxes and things like that. And you come over your first few months, you come over for the right reasons. You know, you want to pay your car off, you want to pay your house loan, you know, you want to get out of debt and things like that. But you know, once you start bringing in that first, you know, post-freedom paycheck, I guess, you know, you get crazy, and these guys are buying, you know, they're taking trips to the BMW factory to buy a car to ship it home, or,
Wow.
you know, they're buying big screen TVs, or they're, you know, they're going on trips every 2 months. They're in, you know, Dubai or Abu Dhabi or Thailand. You know, it's good, and we really in EMS, unfortunately, we don't make as much money as, you know, let's say nurses or doctors in a lot of systems. And we are underpaid. We're absolutely underpaid. So when you come to an overseas project, you make decent money. It's tax free, which really helps out. You lose sight of what you're there for. And I would say that was my first contract. I bought a lot of electronics. I took a lot of trips, you know, things like that. And here, you know, I kind of learned, where did the money go? So, you know, on the second project, I'm a lot more conservative. I have, you know, put myself in a decent financial position, and you know, I can take a month or two off and not work, or really look for what I want to.
That's wonderful. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I know that when I came back from overseas, I was in a war zone while there was a war still going on, and I needed a little bit of time to decompress. And I rented a place on a condo on the beach, and I just decompressed for 6 months. And as a paramedic in another job, that's something I would have never been able to afford to do or even contemplate doing. So there's certainly benefits like that. So let me ask you, here's the $1 million question. So we got all of our listeners out there, and I won't ask too directly because I understand the sensitivities there. But what if somebody's looking to apply for a paramedic job, firefighter job in Saudi Arabia? What's the range of what they could expect is annual earnings?
Well, again, it really depends. Like I said, I came here, I made a lot less money. And actually, I met someone last night who recruits for another hospital. I won't mention any names. And, you know, I was surprised that they're offering less than I make here.
Okay.
So it really depends. Obviously, the hot zones, like you said, you're going to make you're going to make more money. Iraq now, I guess we're completely out of Iraq, but Afghanistan, for the time being, you're going to make money. You're going to make, $90,000, $100,000. Saudi Arabia is a little more modest. I think now at my last contract, these guys are making 74 a year. I'm making a lot less. I'm making about 48 a year now.
You said 48?
48,000
wow.
is what I'm making without overtime. Obviously with overtime, I'm.
But your living expenses are covered.
Everything's covered. The only thing I pay for is my food and anything else. I don't smoke, for example, but the smokers here, they're loving it. Cigarettes are cheap. Conversion rate, you're talking $1.50, $2 a pack.
Oh, okay, that's.
So these guys are the smokers. They're loving the prices of cigarettes and things like that. So they're spending less than they will spend at home. The truth is, we are covered. Health insurance is covered. Transportation is covered. We only pay for our vices.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I guess, and also, there's the IRS rule that if you're out of the country for, I think it's 330 days of any consecutive 365-day period of time, you're tax exempt. And I think this year, don't quote me on this, is right around $95,000.
Yeah, I do believe it. The truth is, I just filed my taxes 6 months ago for the last few years. So I had to catch up my tax years, and it was a little confusing. A lot of the laws changed and things like that. But I do believe that's what was quoted, somewhere 95,000 you're tax free. Obviously, it also depends on your tax bracket and what documentation the company gives you.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. So, if anybody has any questions, do you want me to put your contact information out, or? Maybe, what I'll do? I'll have people contact me and I'll send it to you. How's that?
Yeah. Either way, it sounds good. Like I said, the opportunities here are plenty for paramedics. Firefighters, actually in Saudi Arabia, not so much. You'll find one or two places, for example, here where you can actually do fire, but EMS is a lot more prevalent here.
Fantastic. Well, listen, Malcolm, thank you for your time, and stay cool, please.
Yeah, we'll try it. Thanks. 2 weeks. 2 more weeks.
2 weeks. When you come back, look me up. I know you're not allowed to have one now, but I'll buy you a beer when you come back here.
I'm looking forward to it.
You got it. Thank you, Malcolm.
Thanks for listening to the Ambulance World podcast at www.ambulanceworld.com. Please remember to like us on Facebook and sign up for our free newsletter and updates. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your friends on Facebook and Twitter. Any questions or comments, please feel free to contact us at info@ambulanceworld.com. Stay safe and enjoy life.